Okay. A couple more table examples. These are all table examples. Again, tables are used whenever we're creating stuff. And while we're in the process of creating stuff, we use up either material or time. So my first example was we used up eggs, flour, and sugar. These two examples are where we're using up time. We only have, right, time's not infinite. We can't spend an infinite amount of time on certain stuff. And so we have a limit of how much time we can spend doing things. Alright, so this is an example of we're making 3 different types of rocking horses. There's an economy type, a regular type, and a deluxe. Alright, the economy horses spend 2 hours in the cutting, 1 hour painting, and 1 hour, or half hour, packaging. So there's what I'm using up. I'm using up time to cut, time to paint, and time to package. Alright, each horse requires a different amount of time in each of those departments. Alright, regular has 3 hours to cut, 2 hours to paint, and so much time to pack, half hour to package. Deluxe, same thing, 4 hours to cut, 2.5 to paint, 1 hour to package, and then there's totals. That kind of gives it away that it's a table case. Right? I've got totals for each of my departments. Right? How many horses of each type should be, they'll use up all of my hours available. Alright, and so that's the clue that it's a table case. Whenever I'm creating something and I've got a limited amount of time that I can use or resources that I can use up. Alright, but I want to use those resources. And so whenever you set up a table, students, you have to set this up the right way. You don't want to flip it. Across the top is what you're creating. And so I'm creating an economy type of horse, which I'm going to let be X. A regular type of horse, which I'm going to let be Y. And a deluxe type of horse, which I'm going to let be Z. Across the rows will be what I'm using up. And so in this case is the time in each department. And so I kind of use my totals. I have a cutting department. So I've got my cutting hours. I've got my painting hours. And I've got my packaging hours. Which those should go with totals at the end here. Alright, total cutting hours, well, there were 550 hours total in the cutting department. Hours in the painting department, 340. Again, those should match up. Cutting, painting, packaging, there were 115. And those are the times that I want to use up all of my, I want to be efficient, right? If I've got 100 or 550 hours to cut, I want to use up 550 hours. If I've got 340 to paint, I want to use it up. And if I got my hours in packaging. And I'm going to do that by producing the right number of economy, regular, and deluxe that use up those. Right, and so now, again, it's going to go by column, right? X represents my economy. And so down the column, how many hours do my economy horses cut, paint, package? Well, I go up and find my economy. All right, so my economy horse spends 2 hours being cut, 1 hour being painted, and a half hour in packaging. And so that's what's going to go down my economy column. So cut, 2 hours, paint, 1 hour, packaging, 1/2 hour. All right, now I do the same thing for the regular. All right, the regular horse spends 3 hours being cut, 2 hours being painted, and a half hour in the packaging. And so that goes down again, the regular. So 3 hours being cut, 2 hours being painted, and it also is a half hour for packaging. And then the last one is the deluxe. 4 hours being cut, 2.5 hours being painted, and 1 hour being packaged. Alright, so the deluxe, which again goes down the deluxe column, 4 hours being cut, 2.5 hours being painted, and it takes them a whole hour to be packaged. And then you don't have to write the equation. You've got your matrix that you're going to solve. And so this is the matrix, right? This would be my 3x4 matrix, which those do represent equations. This would represent X, Y, Z, adds up to that. Again, I don't need that, but that's what it represents, right? Those are my X, Y, Z's. Those would add up to my total number of hours. And so you plug this into your matrix. It's a 3x4. First row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50. Second row, 1, 2, 2.5, 340. Third row, 1/2, 1/2, 1, 115. You do your row reduced echelon form on that, RREF. you should get your one solution case, and we do. It comes out 60, 90, 40. X is 60, Y is 90, Z is 40, and so they need to make 60 economy, 90 regular, and 40 deluxe. Alright, in order to use up all of the time they have to be efficient, they have to do 60 economy, 90 regular, 40 deluxe, and then they'll use up every hour that they have in each individual department. Alright, the last one of these types actually is one I pulled from an old final exam. This is often how they're worded. So again, I highlighted the important word. Alright, so Susie is a shop that customizes in bed sheets, window curtains, and throw pillows. Alright, each bed sheet requires 24 minutes to cut, 15 minutes to sew, and 4 minutes to package. Window curtains, so much to cut, sew, package. Throw pillows, so much to cut, throw, package. And then we have totals. Every week she has 306 minutes for cutting, 201 minutes set aside for sewing, and 59 set aside for packaging. If it's possible, and ours will always be possible, how many window curtains can Susie make per week if all the available minutes are to be used up? And so again, we've got our totals, we're creating something, and we want to use up all of our total amount of time. Now, what's different about this question than the previous one is they're only asking for one thing. We're going to find all three. Right? There are three things she makes: bed sheets, window curtains, and throw pillows. But the final answer is only asking you for window curtains. And so when you give your final answer, make sure you only answer the window curtains. All right, you don't want any other values in there, so keep that in mind. This is often how they word them on homeworks, tests, and quizzes. All right, setting up the table first before I get to that answer. All right, so across the top are going to be my X, Y, and Z, what I'm creating. And so we're creating, so I'm going to let X be the bed sheets, Y be the window curtains, which is actually what I want to solve for, and Z is going to be my throw pillows. What we have is time. We're going to use up time. Time is being used to sew, cut, and package again. So we've got our sewing time. Sewing minutes. I'll make sure to do them in the right order. Cut first, then sew. Cutting minutes first. Then sewing. And then packaging. And I'm going to write my totals in, right? Because that's, again, what I should. So we've got 306 for cutting, so match your cutting should be 306. 201 for sewing, so that should go with the sewing. And 59 for packaging, so 59 should go with the packaging, right? So that would be the total, so they should go across from them. Right, then I fill in my individual parts. And so again, first is the bed sheets. So bed sheets first. And so bed sheet require, again, you just be careful when you're filling it out. So there is the bed sheets. 24 minutes to cut. 15 minutes to sew. 4 minutes to package. Alright, now the window curtains. Alright, so each window curtain requires 30 minutes to cut, 18 minutes to sew, 5 minutes to package. 30 minutes to cut, 18 minutes to sew, 5 minutes to package, and then the last one, my throw pillows, 12 minutes to cut, 9 minutes to sew, 3 minutes to package. So 12, 9, 3. And just make sure, the biggest thing here is just make sure you're careful when you're plugging in your numbers. If you're careful, you've got your matrix, right? This is your 3x4 matrix, row 1, row 2, row 3. Alright, so 24, 30, 12, 306 is row 1, 15, 8, 9, 210 is row 2, 4, 5, 3, 59 is row 3. You do your row reduced echelon form, so you do your RREF, which should give you your one case, one solution case, and it does. 5, 3, and 8. We get all the solutions. We get x, y, and z. So x is 5, y is 3, z is 8. But remember, the problem only asked for one answer. So when you're giving your answer in the homework, or you're giving your answer on the quiz, or you're giving your answer on the final exam, make sure you only give the one they're asking for. Otherwise, it'll be marked wrong. And so we only want the window curtains, and so we only want the answer of 3. They need to make 3 window curtains. Now we do know how many of the other ones they make, but we don't want to share those answers. We only want to give 3. 3 would be the answer we'd put in the answer blank. So make sure you're careful with those. Even though we did solve for, there were 5 bed sheets and 8 throw pillows. All right. And so that's sort of finishing up. So again, 3.3 was building into solving systems to get us to solve equations. The hard part about solving equations is the setup. And so at the very end here, I'm just having you practice setting up some applications. That's it. You don't solve them, because actually when I wrote them, they don't necessarily come out to nice solvable systems, because I'm focusing on the setup, because that's the hard part. So on your own, I want you to set them up, alright? So the following cases, which I've actually given you multiple choice for, you pick the right multiple choice. I just want you to set up. So this is a lot like the egg example. So when you look at your homework, you'll have A, B, C, D, E. Which one of them is the correct setup? If I were to solve it, which one would I use? And the next one, which one of these equation sets, right? A, B, C, D, which got a little wonky there, E. Which one of those is the correct setup? And the last one, which one of those is the correct setup, right? Because I have to set it up in order to get the right answer. All right, and so these are just letting you practice setting up the equations. You don't need to solve them. I just want you to get the correct setup, because that's the hard part. All right, and then I'll post the answers to these. Actually, and so try to set them up and then go look at the answers. All right, so try to get these all set up on your own. See if you got them set up, because the matrix part's easy, right? Plug it into the calculator, it spits out my answer. The hard part's the setup, so that's what I want you to practice. So in those last page of this notes is for you to practice setting up my system of equations. All right, so set those system ups correctly. And that finish up chapter 3. So like I said, chapter 3 is a fairly short chapter. All right, most of the work, once you get the problem set up, is done on the calculator, but it's the setup that's the hard part, so that's what you need to practice. All right, we'll stop there. That finishes up chapter 3.